Hey everyone, thank you for joining. I am joined by Jess, Jessica, and Melanie. Everybody was making fun of me that they were all going to go by Jess today, and I was going to screw up, which would not be my first time messing up names. So I appreciate the three of you joining, and I appreciate everybody who's listening. I want to start with very, not like quick intros, but like not your entire history where you were born, but kind of where you come from and a little bit about kind of what your agency does, and then we're going to jump right into everybody's favorite topic, which is tariffs. So I'm going to start with Jessica Levinson. Let's start with you, and then Melanie, and then Jess. Please, just an intro of yourself.
Sorry, you were frozen for me, but I think you said start with me. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
start with you. I didn't know I was frozen.
Beautiful.
I'm back.
It
Let's
was
go.
just for me, maybe. I don't know. So I was born in 1985. I've worked in email for the better part of a decade now, largely in direct-to-consumer brands. I've also worked in-house. I've worked in healthcare a lot as well. So really diverse background. And I work for Common Thread Collective, currently running our email and SMS part of the business. So we are an end-to-end performance marketing agency. We work with a lot of high-growth brands. And I have the pleasure of working with a lot of brands that I love, and I think some of them might actually be on this call, so shout out to you guys if you are.
Thank you. Common Thread's wonderful. I've known you guys for a very, very, very long time. Melanie, handing off to you for an intro.
Jessica, you stole my joke. I'm so sad. I was going to start with I was born, but we have the same humor, so that's good to know. So my background is starting consulting and then in-house for e-com, then in the agency world, and now I run the Email Marketers. We're a retention marketing focused agency specifically for 8 to 9 figure e-commerce brands, and that was my introduction.
I was bar mitzvahed in 1996. Am I catching it? All right, Jess, last but not least.
I was born in 1995 because we're
Oh
just
my
going to
God,
finish that
nobody
off.
wants to hear how young you are.
My background is actually in actuarial science and economics, so that was one of the reasons I was really excited to meet you and your team, Aaron. I was like, more nerds in space. This is great. And had a background in being a CMO for a D2C ecom brand in-house, and then started Longplay. And Longplay is a full-service lifecycle marketing agency for D2C ecom brands, but also slightly broader than that as well. And we do everything to do with mapping out a customer's lifecycle, everything to do with increasing customer lifetime value, and we work across multiple different channels, tools, and programs, obviously including email and SMS.
Thank you. You guys put out some incredible playbooks too, so thank you. I know we'll share some stuff afterwards. We'll put in the LinkedIn Live, but all three of y'all and your agencies put out some incredible content. All right, we're going to jump in with the fun topic du jour, which may be a topic for the next 6 months or 6 years or 6 days. It's unclear, but tariffs. Jessica Levinson, you were saying at the start of this that you had heard, or like this has been the focus for the last week. So I just want to create space. Like, how are brands dealing with tariffs? What's on their mind right now?
It really depends. I feel like that's the answer for everything when you talk about email and SMS. It depends. But from what I've been seeing, it's really a mix. We have a lot of brands that are leaning into it and really messaging like, oh, our prices are not increasing, or you need to start shopping now because our prices will be increasing. And what's interesting and what I've been seeing not only on email and SMS, but also across, paid media and just brands that I follow on Meta, the reception is just kind of all over the place. And I think the thing that's happening is it really depends on your brand and your audience. If you have a demographic that you market to that, for whatever reason is huge into American made, you've got a conservative audience. If you're messaging that your prices are going to increase, I'm seeing comments from a lot of people, well, why aren't you making things in America? Why are you importing things? And it's just really about knowing your audience and how to message things appropriately to them, no matter which direction you're going in. So that's what I've been seeing. I'd love to toss it over to Melanie or Jess to see if you guys are kind of seeing the same.
I do want to add, I think you said something so interesting, which is people have a distinct challenge nowadays, brands, I think, because there are audiences who are like, why aren't you making in America? Or, I want to buy American made. But what the reality actually is one, certain things you can't make that way in America, like in shoes, injection molding, I think is a big thing that just doesn't exist in America the way it does, for example, in China. Or raw goods, right? A lot of people forget that there's certain raw goods that we just do not grow here in America. So I think there's a distinct challenge of also educating your customer of like, why are these tariffs affecting you? And then the second piece, I saw a really cool A/B test. This guy, so he marked up two landing pages. Did you see that one on Twitter?
Yeah, that was wild.
He marked up two landing pages. Essentially, one product was going to be imported and the pricing if it's imported. And then the B version was if he made the product in the US and it was specifically like all US made, yada, 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 but pricing was higher. And the A/B test was like test A got 1,000 purchases, test B got something like 0. So I also think, it's the same with sustainability. We've seen this a lot. People say they care about these things, but I would say that people buy Patagonia not because of sustainability first. I think that's a really great add-on to the fact that they've built a really good brand and a really great product, and then people feel good about the sustainability piece. So I think it's the same with Made in USA. The customer doesn't always, know what their decision factors really are, which I think is an added challenge in this tariffs conversation.
Thank you. Just Chan, are you having
Yeah,
a similar
100%.
conversation?
I think to kind of tag on to what you're both saying as well is like every customer base and every brand is handling things differently because each business is so different and there isn't this one size fits all approach to tariffs. And I think the one thing that the conversations we've been having a lot with brands is more about how to deal with the nature of uncertainty. Especially like I'm Canadian, the tariffs have changed 5 times since since they announced it. And so this, we were in the clear, and then the sky was falling, and we're in the clear again. And so I think it's actually been a really important time to take a step back on seeing how businesses navigate uncertainty. And we can no longer bet on, we know the tariffs are going to go up by 30% or 50%, or we know, these trade channels are going to be shut down or not shut down. It's more how do we navigate through when we don't know. And it's been even more important to kind of return back to the basics of like what are the different cracks in our business that are going to create a scenario where we go down if Trump doesn't announce what we want to announce. And so a lot of it has actually been around how do we cut costs, how do we right size the business, how do we distribute our risk a little bit more between different distribution centers and manufacturing plants. How do we diversify potentially our customer base a little bit or get to know our customers a little bit more and a little bit deeper so we know how to adjust. And so I think that's been like a really interesting conversation, which is like in the nature of who knows, and every business is a little bit different. Understanding the foundations of the business and your customers become even more critical.
The spirit of what all three of you are talking about is kind of a reassessment, like maybe supply chain, maybe where our distribution is, maybe our pricing, right, the story we're telling. What I see from a lot of D2C brands, and like having run one for a decade, is like they're small, they're busy, they're distracted. If you are advising a brand, right, like think about the lean $10 million brand, right? So an amazing brand with a big audience, but not all the resources in the world. What are the high leverage things that they should focus on right now? Is it, Melanie, maybe to your point, like, is it story first, or is it like moving supply? I don't know. Where would you take this?
I since you just said my name, I'll just say, I think it's being a wartime CEO right now, right? That's, and even for us as agency owners or people in the agency space, these are the customers we rely on. I think about us being wartime CEOs now, which means prepare for the worst, expect the best, essentially. So where in your business, and I can guarantee in any given business, probably mine too, if you come in, you could probably cut 20% of costs of things that are just unnecessary, like some subscription someone once started or something like that. So that's number one, right? Like be a wartime CEO, prepare for the worst, expect the best is where I would go. And I think that includes all of the things you just mentioned, right? That includes preparing for all of the pieces along the way. Oh, did I lose you guys? Was that me?
No, I think we're all thinking. I'm trying to figure
No,
out.
It was so good we were just pausing and like
Thank you. I get that a lot.
I think that's great, but like the other half of it is like we all work in email and SMS. Like this is the time where you really dedicate yourself to the messaging that you're putting out there, whether you're raising prices, whether you're not, whatever the case may be, and like actually respecting your audience, communicating what they need versus what you need. And I think especially as part of this tariff conversation, like it's become trendy to send communications around it, but does that suit your audience? Does that suit your brand? Do you need to hop on that bandwagon? And I think it's really just taking stock of where you're at, not only from like the perspective of like where can you cut costs or where can you get more efficient, but like how do we take the audience that we have and nurture them to carry us through this period of uncertainty? Because that is going to be your gold mine. It's not going to be ad spend. It's not going to be some new technology or whatever it is. So maybe in some cases, but like respecting that audience, targeting them correctly, giving them what they need. I think that's the thing that for me, I'm holding at the heart of all the conversations that I'm having with the brands that we work with, because that is for me what's going to see them through.
I love the framing of focusing on what a customer needs to hear, right? It's like information you can use, not kind of the navel gazing side. Do you see the best brands thinking about that across like the website and email and paid? I mean, CTC obviously sees like that full life cycle. Or is it they're actually focused much more on like, oh, finally the CEO is sending a message, like a personal message? I don't know. What are some tactics that you've seen work, or how are people thinking about that?
I think everything that we do, at least on my side for email and SMS, is really customer focused. Like we're always thinking about what our audience needs to hear versus what the brand wants to say. Sometimes we'll butt heads with CEOs that, are like, hey, send an email. But I do think that especially in these times, like that is what we recommend and what we're seeing as being effective, because if you're just hammering people with, price increases or whatever the case may be, how does that benefit them? Like, even if it's a letter from the CEO and it feels really personal, like, what is the added benefit for them to receive that communication? Even the thing that came out today, I think with Amazon, like adding the prices of the tariff impact on their website, like that does benefit the consumer because you know what's happening there. And maybe that's the right message for some brands, but it's not for everyone. And I think it's really just taking a look at what is right for you, what's right for your audience, and making sure you're moving in that direction versus saying like, oh, this is the thing that I need to hop on the bandwagon of because everyone's doing it.
Jess Chan, I want to create some space for you. Any tactics that you're seeing some brands do? Any faux pas that you're seeing that you'd want to call out?
Yeah, I think what Jessica said really resonates in that, like, it really is about knowing your own customers and your brand, and I think that's always the challenging thing as marketers, or even just entrepreneurs and sharing what to do, right? And I think that discernment is really important. Of even like Melanie saying, like, we're a wartime CEO now. We need to cut costs. And to answer your question, Aaron, we've seen a lot of brands cut costs in all the worst ways, where you're actually cutting yourself off at the knees. And don't cut all of your acquisition spend just because it's a little bit less profitable. Or we've also seen the other side, which is like, we're just going to cut all retention because this is the most expensive cost, so we're going to cut that entire cost. And it's like, now you're shooting yourself, in the knees for next year. And so I think the faux pas are actually, it's not like, if you do this thing as a brand, that is the end all be all, don't do this. It's more of, don't be reactive, and don't look for the top 10 things you should be doing to save yourself from tariff posts, right? That's not, that is actually the biggest mistake.
Podcast is about the top 10. Okay. Great.
And I think it's actually like, don't be reactive. Like, take some time, know your customers deeply, know your own values, what you want to share with customers, know who's the most valuable people on your team, know what makes your brand special, and like double down on those things and cut all other fluff. I think that is like really, potentially a reflection of like the core piece of advice we're all giving that isn't prescriptive, but it is meaningful.
No, I think it's really interesting because you're, the whole like, okay, we got to make a big change. Let's make a big change. Like, my job is to make a big change is like the wrong attitude, right? It's like the wartime CEO doesn't just like go and do a lot of random shit, right? Got to be thoughtful, got to be considered. I'm going to share just for a second about Arita and how we like what we've been seeing, because like we see it across obviously like a bunch of different platforms. The thing that has bugged me for a while, and this was since Klaviyo changed their pricing, is like we'll get on a call and a company's like, we got to drop our Klaviyo bill, and I'm like, you did not sign up for Klaviyo in order to get a lower Klaviyo price. You sign up for Klaviyo to maximize, right? To like grow as profitably as possible. And just to your point, it's like, let's go cut our retention. It's like, couldn't be more opposite, right? Like, the way that we think about the world is like, how do you get the absolute most out of your existing customer base? And so I have seen like some really interesting shifts where like people are shrinking their, I'd say like their performance budget a little bit, where they're like, okay, cool, we're not going to like try to grow as quick, but we are going to try to maximize who we have. Jessica Levinson, I'm curious, like from your guys' side, are you seeing people shifting budget away from performance more into like getting the most out of their existing, or is it kind of a blend, or is it kind of one of those, it depends on the brand and like their mentality?
It's really a mix. I've honestly seen a lot of brands at least considering heavying up in retention because they know the value that's added there. And especially as like you start to see maybe some performance impacts of like how AI is maybe impacting like Google search or something like that, maybe considering shifting some of that budget from Google over to retention and nurturing your audiences a bit more there. So I think it really, I hate saying this over and over, but it does depend. Like however the brand is seeing the impacts, like that's where we're seeing the shifts. But by no means have we seen, at least from my perspective, brands saying like, oh yeah, we're going to cut retention because it's not meaningful at this point.
Melanie, what about you? How, if at all, are you seeing any patterns in budgets changing, or is it similar?
Well, first of all, by the way, Jess, I'm really glad you said what you said previously because when I said wartime CEO and think about your costs, I was like, oh God, I forgot to mention to not just go and like cut everything and then cut all your marketing and then be like, we're not making sales anymore. And then have to be like, well, you cut all marketing. So I'm glad you brought that up. But similarly, I think, you know, honestly, I've been seeing this for a while. I think tariffs have just exasperated it. But I think, you know, when I kind of started in ecom, it was growth at all costs. Like no one really cared. It was just like growth at all costs. There was so much VC money. Facebook ads were cheap. People really wanted to grow. No one cared about profitability. You built something like Casper and Allbirds. And now I think for a while, like I think really starting with Apple privacy, people have become a lot more conscious of actually building a profitable business. So no one really cares about, not no one really cares, but I think the bottom line has become a lot more important at the end of the day than the top line. The top line used to be kind of everything. And I feel like tariffs are just exasperating that in terms of people shifting budgets. Yeah, it depends. Again, kind of like Jessica said, I do think people are a lot more conscious now. Like I still see brands who grow to like an insane size and they don't really have an abandoned cart flow. And I'm like, how is this even still possible? Like very impressive. But I also see those brands now become a lot more conscious around like, hey, if we want to continue growing, really now it's about this huge gold mine of people we have here that have bought one product and I have 200 more products to sell to. How can I cater and service to them and how can I invest in that more? So long story short, I've seen it happen over time. I feel like it's now with tariffs, it's squeezing people even more and it's going to be even more important.
I want to stay on this and try to get a little bit tactical, right? Just because you mentioned like abandoned cart flow. Assume you have a couple of minutes and you're sitting with a brand, pretty good brand, right? What are the things that you're inspecting and what are the like, not the obvious things like an abandoned cart flow maybe, which to us it feels obvious, maybe it's not obvious, but what are some of the like unexpected things where you think brands should be leaning into, whether it's on their segmentation strategy or some like specific software? And Melanie, I'll just stay with you to start and then obviously want to open it up to others to get more tactical into driving profitable growth.
I mean, the hill I always die on is most, I would say if I go into probably 80% of email programs, I will find that they've done a pretty decent job optimizing for the first order. And then it just kind of like, no one cares anymore. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that was fun. But that was still acquisition, right? Now's the retention piece. So what happens after the first purchase? I think that's the hill I'll die on is most people ignore that. And that's probably the most important thing in your email account is like, what happens after the first purchase? Not just how do we get to the first purchase would be my take.
Jess?
I'll jump in because I'm
Please,
dying
Jessica.
on that hill alongside you. Like we're running up that hill together. For me, like the thing I immediately go to is like, what does your post-purchase journey look like? How are you nurturing people towards that second, third, or even fifth purchase? Because it's not just the first and the second. You want them coming back over and over again. How do you shift them over to subscriptions? What are you saying to them in your campaigns? Are you just sending everything to everyone? So for me, it's segmentation, it's cadence of your campaigns and what is within those campaigns, and then also the automations that are triggering for those people as well.
Jessica, I want to linger on that for a second. and this is more a vestige of like before this I was at Loop Returns, and before that I started a shipping company called Passport. And so like I think about the like post purchase as inclusive of returns and shipping and like the unboxing experience, right? Having run a brand with like handwritten notes. Where do you guys start and stop when you think about that? Trying to drive to that second, third, fifth purchase? Is it email and content? Is it, hey, let's inspect the packaging? Is it what we do with retargeting ads as well? Like, yeah.
I mean, it's all of that. I mean, specifically on where I dig in, it tends to be like a post-purchase flow, but I also want to know like what products are getting returned more frequently. Do we need to nurture those audience members differently than people who aren't returning certain products? So I think it's definitely all of that. But in terms of like the tactical, where do you start? It's what are you saying to people after they buy once, and what are you saying to them after they buy a second time, and is that working?
I, Thank you. I know it sounds so obvious to you, but like even highlighting that, understanding what products are being returned at what rate, and that might influence upfront email marketing, let alone what's on the website, is something that I think too many people sit in their silo and they miss that all that actually is tied together. So I'm glad you brought it up. Just Chan.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yes, to all of that, I think we're all on the same page. I think from a diagnostic standpoint, we find brands don't get granular enough. So even like Melanie was saying, like a lot of brands focus on that first purchase, and I find like especially 7-figure and like early 8 figures, they're still kind of stuck on like they're spending a lot on acquisition, they're not actually converting people. But digging in a little bit deeper in terms of like, are you losing them on like they're bouncing off your initial page of your website? Are they even visiting a product? Are you losing them on the add to cart, the starting checkout, completing checkout, and going a little bit deeper? And often we find it's very like if you just take the time to like go through it as a customer, the cracks start to reveal themselves where you're like, oh, this product page is super confusing if I'm not staring at this brand every day, or like these shipping costs don't make any sense, or I don't know how long it's going to take time to get my product. And finding those little tweaks there. We also find brands don't take the time to like Jessica was saying, nurturing the customer to actually use the product and love it. And they're jumping straight to like cross sells and win backs when they haven't even like bought the customer into the brand. And the third mistake we see is brands who are like, we need fifth time buyers, and we need more cross selling, and they don't actually have a product catalog to support cross selling. Like, just going back to basics is like, do you have another product that the customer is going to want to buy from you? A cross sell flow is not going to fix that. And so taking the time to think through, like, do we need to expand our product line? What do we need to test? What else are we selling this customer, or are we trying to bring in new customers? Thinking through some of those questions is usually where we find like the biggest gaps for brands.
I love it. The bringing on a new product line is so tricky right now, but if somebody can afford it and they have a good insight and they understand their customer, going back to Jessica's point, like what a great opportunity right now where everybody's kind of battening down the hatches to go kind of say something new and fresh. Hard. Just Chan, I want to stay with you for a minute and then switch topics a little bit. I want to talk about like the tech stack, right? I want to create space for AI. We're going to talk about tariffs. We'll talk about AI, and then soon we'll talk about Web3, and then we'll talk about crypto. No, okay, we'll stay with like tools and AI. I'm curious, like, because you write these incredible playbooks. When you think about the tools that you're recommending to your client base, like, what are some that stand out, and like, what are some that I think maybe even more interesting? Like, what are some problems that you're still waiting to be solved that would help you guys do your job better, or obviously much more important, like in service of the brands growing more profitably? And then I want to open it up. I'm curious, you guys can take this however you want, but Jess, let's start with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think to echo Jessica and Melanie is like, it depends. There's no, I really don't believe in the whole, like, this one tool is like the godsend for all e-com brands, and like, this is the top 10 reasons why you need it. I think it really is what problem, we really look at it from the perspective of like, what problem are you trying to solve in your life cycle? Which tools target those areas? And from a budget and need standpoint and how quickly the brand is growing, can this tool scale with you? And most of the big tools that we see in the space are like, they're all solid. Like they all have good teams, good product, like they have all the features. It's really like, is it right for you? I mean, obviously like Arita has been a great one for brands that we've loved. I think, I can't give like the short list of tools. I think it's
Maybe
been
let me
more about
reframe a little bit, because the way you put it is how I'm really thinking about it, is like there are jobs to be done for a brand. Where is there innovation happening, or where are you hoping that like the next set of like what are the next problems that you really want to be solved? It could be like, hey, this thing is solved pretty well, but there's such a big opportunity, whether it's related. Anyway, let me stop there. But what are the big
yeah,
problems
yeah.
that you want?
No, I appreciate the clarification. I think personalization and data and segmentation is probably the big area, and like how precise can we get with it. There's a lot of like personalization for the sake of personalization, where it's like we run unlimited A/B tests, or like here's all this AI content generation. It's like when there's so much going on, we don't just need more volume. And I feel like AI is being used for that a lot, which is like how much more can we produce, how much faster, versus how can we think and be more precise with what we're doing. So in terms of like my wish list is like, can we have personalization and audience insights and data merged in, so that we can create content for the right people at the right time.
Do you think that comes from a single tool, or is that actually like the job of the agency or like the strategic thinker internally, whatever it is, to like kind of get the personalization from here and the segmentation from here?
I mean, right now it's definitely in the hands of the agency or the team that's running it. And also, I think tools can talk to each other a little bit more. There's a lot of time that our team just spends on like triangulating information to like build the strategy and then communicate that to create the content, and then run the test and like see if it all comes back. And like that is a job to be done right now, and that's the role that we play. But there's still a lot of like quote unquote like grunt work in that, just to process everything.
Thank you. I'm going to go around clockwise in my video. So Melanie, next to you, what are some of the problems that you're hoping are going to be solved in the coming quarters, years?
Yeah, I mean, personalization is a big thing, in the sense that, where I believe the space will go is I think eventually it'll be a one-to-one email is my vision, right? Which means it can be the same campaign that a brand is sending, but Jess, Melanie, and Jessica all get a different version of that campaign based on our order behavior, the things we actually clicked on the website and we showed interest in, why now through our post-purchase, why we buy the product. Like that would be, in my eyes, so cool. I don't know how far we are away from that, but if there was a tool that could help with that, I'd be delighted. And of course, Arita. Have we talked about Arita yet?
We don't
My
need to talk about it.
absolute favorite tool. No, I do. I'd not to plug Arita. I promise I was not paid to do this, but actually, we really do love working with Arita, and it's been super helpful. Like on the retention side, I try to be as unbiased as possible, but Arita is one of our favorites, and I really do like it. So Klaviyo, Arita, good combo. Highly recommend. And the Alia pop-up too, if you're asking about tech stack. I do like the Alia pop-ups.
I've heard about the Alia pop-up a bunch. I think I met those
Yeah.
guys at eTail. I didn't realize, but a lot of brands I really respect tend to like them. Jessica, I see you nodding as well. Have you
Yeah,
played with that tool?
they're phenomenal. I don't know if you've heard about Arita, but I think Arita as well.
Can you spell it? Is it?
I mean, like that was a softball. You were like, "What technology? What
I
AI?" And I
literally
was like,
was embarrassed
"Come
when
on,
I asked that
man."
question. You may have noticed me trying to interrupt Jess. I'm like, I'm not looking for a plug for Rita. I like.
I'm like, I can't not say it.
That's fine.
True.
But I've been in this ecosystem for so extremely long, and I really like exploring the edges. And you guys see all these cool tools, and you're such experts that I'm like, teach me something. So I know what Rita is. But Jessica, so Alia, but like, what else? Like, what are the problems? Is it like similar for you with personalization? Is there something more?
For me, not that I want to like throw agencies under the bus, but I do think it would be helpful to have like something built from AI or from a data perspective that says this is the most impactful thing you can do next. Because I think even in our shoes, a lot of the times, like there's this wealth of possibility and there's so much opportunity, but it's what's going to be most impactful, what's going to move the business forward. And we, a lot of times, will use a lot of different data sources to say, like, this is what we believe it will be. But I think if there was something to actually help kind of like guide that for us on the agency side or even on the brand side, I think that would be really crucial, especially in times of uncertainty, to say, like, this is where it would be the most impactful use.
Yeah. I mean,
Are
this
you
is
on fire?
Jessica. Jessica's gonna be okay. You'll be fine. Just stay. This is very important.
I love the really unbothered nodding to this very scary alarm. Are you on fire? Yeah.
She loves Arita so much. This is how she wanted to go. Okay, Jessica, uh, oh, I completely lost my thought when I was worried we were going to lose Jess Chan forever, but she'll be okay now, I think. Maybe not. She's typing. Okay, let's not even do this. This is hilarious. We were talking about something important, and I completely lost it. I'm so old. I apologize.
I was discussing the need for something to help kind of like
Yes,
guide.
thank you, thank you, thank you. The thing that I was going to say is like my background. I'm like a history major in MBA, so I'm like inch deep, mile wide, right? And one of you were making the joke that you're like excited to work with us because we're a data team. I'm not. My co-founders are, right? Like they're ML engineers. The thing that has like really struck me that I've learned over the course of this business, which I try to apply now every other part of the ecosystem as I think about this, is truly being focused on incrementality. And I think, Jessica, what you were saying really resonates with me there, where it's like, what is the right next step? And how do we get away from this being like a gut feel to this being like, actually, to Melanie's point, doing personalized messages for everybody is good. But really, Jess wants a text and Melanie wants an email and Jessica wants 4 postcards. And getting to that journey, I think, is the thing that I'm really excited about. I see this world where there's like unbelievable amounts of personalization coming, right? Like the CEO of Nike is going to send you a like personalized text with a video in 6 months. Like, hey, we were out of this like size 8.5 runner. Like, here it is. The question is though, like, is that even if it's like the best content in the world, are you ready to receive it? Or was there a better time to send it, or a better discount, or a better channel? That's kind of where my mind goes when I'm listening to the.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Like, do I respond better to an influencer or a founder message or reviews? Like that kind of stuff, I think is what's going to be the next level of where email and SMS and, push and all that go. And I think being able to like drill into those insights through the data in a way that's really clean and clear is going to be what we need to get there.
I want to switch gears maybe for kind of 2 more things. One, I want to spend a little bit of time on metrics and getting a little more tactical. And then I want to step out with some kind of like lightning round takeaway questions. I'm curious for the 3 of you, when you're inspecting a brand, there's some obvious metrics that people are looking at. Click rate, revenue per recipient, right? Revenue per campaign. Are there any non-obvious metrics that you're looking at, either when you're inspecting a brand or you're trying to see like kind of over time to figure out, are we doing a good job, like driving real retention? Yeah, I'll start, Jessica, I'll just say with you, and then Melanie, I'll go to you, and then hopefully Jess Jan is still alive and safe, and we'll end with her.
I personally love like efficiency metrics that I can't just drill into like in the platform, like a click-based conversion rate, a revenue per click, that kind of thing. That's not something that's like easily accessible in the data, and like that's stuff that I've built out like reporting for, and really looking at that like on a message level and by audience as well. So I think the more granular you can get, the better it is. But yeah, for me, it's efficiency. Like it doesn't matter how much revenue you're driving; it's how good you are at doing it with the channels that you're leveraging.
I want to do a quick follow-up there. Sorry, Melanie. Jessica, if you think about that and you think about the last topic around like personalization and segmentation, is there a world where like you're doing that and you're feeding that information back up to some tool to help that, or like?
Ideally, like that would be fantastic. But yeah, like for the most part, like that's the stuff that I'm looking at to inform strategy. Like where are we the most efficient? Where do we need to get more efficient? How do we do that? But then I think taking all those metrics beyond just kind of like what's in platform, or even what you can pull out with like reports across all the different platforms we use, and actually taking those insights into actionable next steps is what I'm really looking for.
Cool. Thank you.
And like I do it manually, but I'd love to do it a lot faster. So let's go AI.
I'm gonna pitch my favorite company that I'm not even close to being involved with, Hero Analytics. Have you taken a look at what they're doing? Okay, cool. I didn't know, Zach. If you don't like what they're doing, just talk to Zach and he'll build you a better product. So getting feedback on that front. Cool. Melanie, I want to create space for you on the metric side, or what you're looking at to figure out is retention, is the program actually working well?
Yeah, I love that you guys mentioned Hiro or Hero. I actually don't know how to pronounce most of the
I go
brand
Hero.
names, apparently. I was thinking about that when you asked about tech stack. I was like, I should have mentioned those guys. So thank you to all the people on this call who've been doing a really good job of saying all the things that later I go, oh my God, I should have said that. Yes, everything Jessica said. I think the things we look a lot when, or let me frame it this way, the things I think we look at more than people do internally before they come to the email marketers is really like repeat purchase behavior. So metrics like, at what point do 80% of the people who normally purchase come back, right? What is that time frame? And how do we adapt our flows to fit that time frame? And how do we build a win back flow around this time frame? Or like what is our from sign up on pop-up to purchase, what is the lifetime, right? And there you have to do some more math because most people sign up and then buy right away. But what is the second most likely? So if they don't buy right away, what is the time frame they actually buy in? And then how can I adapt my welcome flow to that? I think that's one version of metrics that a lot of people overlook that I think can make your flows significantly more powerful, because getting people to purchase is just, are you saying the right thing at the right time? So this helps with the right time piece. So that's one thing, that I would think about around metrics.
Melanie, when you think about adapting the welcome flow, just so I can kind of like conceptualize this more
Yeah.
specifically, if it's like, oh, actually the most people's second purchase is 30 days, our welcome flow used to be 4 emails that ended at day 14, therefore we should start expanding and experiment that way. Is it also the content side, or?
Well, if it's about a second purchase, it wouldn't really be your welcome flow anymore, right? Your welcome flow is really like part of the first purchase, I would say. It's really the introduction and part of the first purchase. But if I say like, okay, people buy this supplement and we find that, let's say 50% of people subscribe. And the other 50%, when they buy, of those people that come back, 80% of them come back within 45 days. Now I know in my post-purchase flow that till about 45 days, I have the opportunity to win these people back normally. After about 45 days, now I want to start thinking about, potentially putting them into a win back flow. And then based on the data, you can make it more and more aggressive, right? Based on what you're seeing, how people are churning. For the welcome flow, it'd be really about the first purchase, right? Let's say like I'm selling furniture and I find that 60% of my customers, they purchase pretty much the day that they sign up on the pop-up on, which wouldn't be surprising because a lot of people sign up just to get the discount that you're offering. But the other 40%, it actually takes them 30 days to purchase my product. But my welcome flow only is 6 days long because I've just built some kind of basic welcome flow. Well, then you can think about that a little bit more strategically. Do I expand my welcome flow? How many emails? What am I messaging? But a lot of it, and I'll just add this because we talked about knowing your customer and we talked about metrics. And I will say, I think a lot of brands will be better off focusing a little bit less on the metrics and just a little bit more on actually having qualitative insights and understanding to who their customers are and talking to their customers and like listening yes, that's all, and that there everyone's nodding. So
There was one thing. So I ran a brand for like 7 years, and we scaled quickly, and then we flatlined. And I think I did one thing right, like literally one thing consistently right, which was we wrote a handwritten note to every single one of our customers, specifically. And at the beginning, it was like with a business card with my cell phone number because I wanted to get feedback. And I was like, I'm gonna lower all bar for someone to be like, your product sucks. Like I didn't want like, hey, this is cool, right? It was like, here's how we can do better. And Melanie just like plus 1,000 to people, like actually talking to their customers and actually understanding, is this good? What could be better? From like through the flows to the packaging to you name it. Jessica, anything that you want to add on here? Sorry, I know we've kind of been jumping around.
Yeah, I think the other thing here is like kind of to build on what Jess and Melanie are saying, like, are you actually collecting feedback to your point, Erin? Like, do you have a post-purchase survey, or do you have a survey that goes out to people asking why they didn't purchase, or what they need more of? Like, where are you getting your insights from? Are you reading your reviews to see what people are loving versus what they're complaining about? And are you addressing that across your email program and your SMS program? So I think, yes, like sometimes you get lost in the sauce of the data, like moving an open rate forward or leaning really hard into saying, how can we up our revenue? And to the point of like the personalization, it's not a hey first name, it's a, how do we actually do better by our audience and where do we get those insights from?
I love it. Thank you. All right, I want to start wrapping up with a couple of quick questions. I want to ask, I have too many good choices, but Jessica, I'm going to start with you. What's the worst marketing advice you've heard, but you see people still follow?
I, not the lovely ladies in this room, but CEOs still seem to think that you can send a blast to the whole list at any point in
Can't.
time.
We've
That's
got really
a
good stuff to say. Why can't we just send stuff?
Yeah, send everything to everyone all the time. That's still the thing that I think a lot of people get lost in. But I know that I'm in good company where y'all don't do that. So I'm just going to say this out loud for anyone who might be one of those people. Don't do it. Just don't do it. There's no need. There's your good advice.
I love it. All right, Melanie, you're up.
Mine's a really hot take. You have to figure out attribution perfectly. I think people are so obsessed with figuring out perfect attribution, and you will not figure it out, right? Like, it's just, actually, Taylor Holiday had such a he gave a great talk in San Diego about how it's funny how people can always justify, like, why one channel deserves to be there. But yeah, I think people overcomplicate the attribution piece sometimes. I know it's a hot take. I'm going to go away very quickly after saying that.
Jess, you want to take the other side of Melanie's argument, or because I think we're
No,
all
I want to
aligned
double
there.
down. I want to do a whole podcast just on attribution. Drives us crazy.
Talk about
Um,
it. Stay with that for a minute, please.
I
What are you thinking?
I actually need to calm down because I feel like I could just go on this topic. I think taking a step back, if we really think about like what attribution is, it is trying to perfectly map a customer's behavior. And like if we just think about as humans how we shop. I'm like, I bought this mug because, you know, I saw this post like 6 months ago, and then my friend brought it up, and then like I moved, and then now in my moving I shattered a mug, and now I needed the mug. And like, and we're trying to map all of that into this perfect, beautiful dashboard to say like email did it or like Facebook did it, but like human behavior doesn't work that way. And I think there's been people have forgotten what attribution is in all the noise because there's so many terms, so many details, there's so much like fancy like buzzwords versus like attribution is just trying to figure out what a human did in the process of buying the thing to know where to speak to them. But like humans are not that perfectly mappable. And so you still need to know, and you still want the data, but we've seen so many brands it's like, we're not doing it because there's no data, but the data says this, so we're just going to put all of our eggs in one basket and we don't know what we don't know. Or like, we shouldn't try this idea until we have the data, and they miss out on so much. So I think there's just this huge disconnect in understanding like the foundations of like what attribution is actually measuring. And if you actually think about it, it actually makes no sense to expect perfect attribution.
I think it's an incredible insight. We talk a lot about take off your email marketer hat and put on your consumer hat, and like don't be the annoying brand that, to Jessica's point, emails everything to everybody, all the time type of stuff. But it's the same thing with attribution or whatever it is like, if you can't figure out why you made this decision, why do you expect to understand why a million other people who you aren't like actually interviewing made that choice? So I appreciate you double clicking there. Is there anything else that you want to add? Worst marketing advice, though I think attribution is a pretty good one.
I mean, I think the other one is probably like, oh, we need revenue to go up in the next month, like just run some discounts. And it's so simple. Like it's like, we just need to run another flash sale. Like we just need to run another promotion this month. And then no one's thinking about the destruction of your brand and your profit margins over like 6 to 12 months of that strategy. and they end up in, like, we call it like a promotional like hellhole, where you've dug yourself in so deep that like now you've trained your customers on only buying on discounts, or you've only brought in or all of your ads are just discounting, so you've only brought in customers who respond to discounts, but now you don't have the profit margins because you've been driving revenue for so long that you can't afford to not run the promotions, and then it's just this downward spiral. But the number of times we've seen brands come in, they're like, agency is doing great. Our revenue is up on email. They've just been running promotions for 3 months. Is more often than we would think.
That's great. Thank you. I want to wrap up with 2 questions for each of you. I'm going to put you on the spot. It is tariff city. There's economic questions. It is hard out there. What's one piece of advice, just one, you have for DTC founders who are kind of like thinking through what the rest of 2025 looks like? The second follow-up is just like, where can people find you? Jess, I want to stay with you, and then Melanie, and then Jessica. You're gonna close this out.
I'm so sorry, my brain literally didn't process the question, and I was hoping to
You're
understand
good.
it as
What is your name? What's your social security? Okay. What if you could give like one piece of advice, or frame it in my language, like if you could take a founder by their shoulders and shake them and be like, hey, like 2025 is hard. Like, here's something to focus on right now. Like, what's your one piece of sage advice? And then secondarily, where do people find you?
I think if I could shake someone, I'd just say like, breathe, like calm down. I know there's a lot going on, and just take a second and slowly figure out what your 1 or 2 biggest problems are and solve those. Don't try to solve 100 different problems or react to what everyone else thinks you should be doing.
I love it. Where do people find you?
longplaybrands.com, or just Jess Chan on Twitter.
Cool. I've heard of Twitter. It's a cool place. This is great. You're in all the cool
Or
spots.
I guess X now.
X.
As the cool kids call it.
Melanie, best insight people are going to hear for the next month, right now, in the next few minutes.
I don't know if I have that. I think it's in relation to what I said earlier, people make really bad decisions out of fear. So as a brand owner, your first responsibility is get yourself out of fear, mindset, emotion. What I do and what I remind all of our brands is like, when COVID hit, we thought it was over. Like, we really did. We were like, we're done. Like, it's over. No one's going to be spending money. Everyone's going bankrupt. And for e-com, it actually turned out to be like the best thing that ever happened in the space. So, you never know what the outcome is going to be. So try to like mentally think of what ideal positive scenario is and retrain your brain to see opportunity. And then, of course, still prepare, right? Still prepare for all the other things that could happen and stay nimble. I think really, we get attached to how our business runs and who we sell to and what we sell and how we sell. I think if we learned one thing during COVID is the restaurants that were nimble and pivoted, they're actually better off now than they were before COVID. The restaurants that didn't, most of them don't exist anymore. So a hardship, a challenge, if you stay nimble, can actually help you build a better business.
Thank you. Where do folks find you?
LinkedIn, Melanie Balke, Twitter, also Melanie Balke, Instagram, no, the email marketers on Instagram, not Melanie Balke, the email marketers. And yeah, the emailmarketers.com.
Thank you. All right, Jessica, last but not least.
I think the thing, I want to come at this from an email and SMS and retention lens. I think really just respect your audience during this time. Like, they're also feeling the pain of what's going on. Some of them are also business owners. Like, they need you to be like the steady guiding light for them, for your brand. And to the point of like, well, just throw a discount out there. Like, make sure that you're communicating value in everything that you're saying and that it all ties up to how you want your brand to be perceived during this time, because you don't want to be like the here's a fire sale brand because we need to hit our numbers this month. Like that doesn't benefit your audience. So I think just keeping that at the heart of what you're doing during this time, like as you try to navigate this for yourself, like navigate it for your audience as well. That would be
wonderful.
my
Thank you.
piece. Yeah.
More info.
And where to find me, Common Thread Collective, I think commonthreadco.com, or on LinkedIn under Jessica Levinson. I am chronically online, so happy to connect with any and all of you. And I think I'm connected to everyone here already, but looking forward
This
to
is
more.
great. We all have 500 plus connections, so good luck breaking through our friendship, but it's fine. Thank you. This is great. Really appreciate all your time and all the insights. Thanks, Hill.